Well, you can actually put something out on the internet and people from all over the world can find you at any time, especially if it's like an evergreen platform. And so that's kind of what I want to touch on today. So we're going to do a little bit about physical networking at events, a little bit about content, and a little bit about just different things that you can use if you really want to scale your business and have people coming to you asking to invest with you, asking to partner with you, asking, offering to, I mean, honestly, the biggest problem that I have a lot of times when it comes to capital at this point is deciding if I want to deal with the person behind the capital, which is just, that's kind of a messed up way to say it, but like that's a good problem to have. 3 years ago, if you'd asked me to partner on a deal and I didn't have money, I'd be stuck. Now, if I find a good deal and I want to partner on it, I can text a few people and say, hey, do you want to be a piece of this? And that has nothing to do with anything other than networking, content marketing, and just getting out there. So I want to talk to you guys about that. I'll make it fairly quick. We'll run through some stuff. I'll give the slide deck to Shelby afterwards so you guys can all take it because it's like bulletized and actionable. So you can walk through it and take it and run. And then you guys can hit me up whenever and talk. I love talking about this stuff. It's started as me just a chore trying to write, and it became I guess the best way to put it is that it became a hobby. So let's make sure I share the right screen here. Let's open this slideshow. Boom. Good. Are you guys seeing the whole thing or just the slide? Just the slide? Cool. We'll roll with it. So we already talked about me. We already talked about this. And everyone's heard this quote. All right. Everybody's heard the quote, your network is your net worth. And people talk about it all the time, but we're going to talk through some physical ways to get yourself better at this because I'm an extrovert, but I was a homeschooled dweebo through high school who did not know how to talk to people. And the only reason I became an extrovert is I worked in a coffee shop for a while. And then the Marine Corps decided I should go recruit people. And you don't succeed on recruiting duty by not talking to people. And so I learned a lot of stuff about networking. And it was not in my nature. I was loud, but I wasn't good at talking to people. And so that's really what I want to start this off with. So the first thing, when you want to start networking with somebody is you need to understand how to build rapport. And what rapport is it is essentially facilitating trust, like getting a relationship started. So when you walk up to someone and you have no idea who they are, building rapport is how you get them to understand or to trust you enough to have a conversation with you, rather than just like you've all probably had that conversation where it's like, oh, hey, hi, nice to meet you. Cool. High five. See you later. And then that's it. And so building rapport is how you actually get that relationship started. If they don't trust you enough to listen to what you're saying, then you're not going to get anywhere with it. So the first few ways that you do this, and this comes straight out, if any of you have been Marine Corps recruiters, like this is straight out of the freaking handbook. This is what got drilled into my head. But you demonstrate your values, meaning, and that's a fancy way of saying it, you should dress to impress. Like I'm a aloha shirt guy, t-shirt guy by trade, but if I'm at a fancy event, you will probably at some point see me in a suit or in something nice. In essence, what it's saying is if you wear a cut off sleeve shirt, then people are going to view you as somebody who wears cut off sleeve shirts. So you want to demonstrate your values through how you look, because whether we like it or not, people make judgments. First impressions count. Finding common ground is literally just finding something in common. Whether you like it or not, you have something in common with absolutely everybody that you could possibly talk to. So when we were recruiters, the easiest way to do this with like high school kids who you have nothing in common with is to spot what watch they're wearing, what shoes they're wearing, what sunglasses they're wearing, ball cap, a logo on the t-shirt, anything that you understand something about. For me, it was always watches. If somebody had a Garmin on, it was like, oh man, hey, that's a really cool watch. What do you use it for? If somebody had a really cool watch, we talk about it, whatever. If somebody had, I don't know, like Oakley sunglasses, whatever it is that you can spark a conversation with, because people like-minded people. So if you find some common ground to break that ice and you can talk to them, then that's just helping to facilitate that trust. So it might sound super corny, but if you walk up and you're like, oh bro, nice shoes, and then you can talk about it for 2 or 3 minutes, like you've just started a relationship off on a good foot. And so that's something that a lot of people don't do when they're networking, is they don't ever think of like what they can talk to someone about. And that might very well, like honestly, one of the best ways that I ever found to build common ground was just asking questions about things I didn't understand. Like if the kid was wearing a bunch of golf stuff and I didn't know the first thing about golfing, just ask them about golf and just be interested. And so there's a way to find common ground there. So matching and mirroring is you might not have noticed this physically, but like when you're talking to people, if you cross your arms, when you're standing up, other people in the circle will cross their arms. right? Like it's just kind of natural. You won't notice it until you're like looking for it. But human beings will naturally, like, if I lean into a conversation, other people will lean in. If I lean out, other people will lean out. So matching and mirroring is the art of, if you're talking to someone and they cross their arms, you slowly but surely cross your arms to not necessarily match, not mirror, but be similar. And they won't notice it. It seems weird to you, but they won't notice it because psychologically they're used to people doing that. But it's a really good way with body language to make sure you guys are on the same page. So like if someone's crossing their, if someone's hands are at their sides and you're crossing your arms, like just slowly put your arms down by your side. It should be natural, but that honestly will facilitate somebody getting involved. Now, I wrote down touch here. That's honestly, this is generally something that is probably better if you're a female, because dudes like just are either really awkward about this or it just doesn't work. But like as a guy, if you shake someone's hand and you put your arm on their, you do the old like hand on the shoulder or whatever, the pat, or like the pat on the back, like that's any kind of physical touch, if done in the right way, will really help build that relationship. Now, with a girl, you don't want to be all, you got to be careful with this one, but like, this is why one of the biggest things a waitress can do to up their tips, and I forget the statistic on this as far as like percentages, but like if you ever notice, like a really good waitress will like put her hand on your shoulder if you're with a bunch of guys, or they'll like that physical, like not anything inappropriate, but that physical connection it really is huge. So if you can find a way to do that with the handshake and the arm on the shoulder or whatever, it really will help the dynamic of a relationship. So that's the basics of just like getting through the like, hey, look, I'm a normal person. We hit it off well. That's a first impression. You look good. You talk about something that you guys have in common, find some common ground, and try to look like someone who's like-minded. And people are going to listen to you. As far as listening, honestly, the most important thing you can do here is just listen to people. People like to talk about themselves. I mean, I'm guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it. If you give them a runway, they'll run with it. So ask open-ended questions. So don't ask like, oh, do you prefer black shoes? Or do you like black shoes? And then it's a yes or no question. Ask like, hey, what are your favorite kind of shoes? Or what are your favorite whatever? Ask an open question and let them just run with it. And the more people talk about themselves and what they do, the more they're going to like you. It seems counterintuitive, but the less you talk and the more you listen, which I'm terrible at, the more people are going to like you. So those are like the very basic ground rules for just starting a relationship with someone you've never met before. All right. At a conference, here's a few things you can do to set yourself apart, right? You need to have a plan. So you need to know who you want to meet. Why do you want to meet them? What value can you bring to them? And you need to understand all of this. So for example, I went to FinCon last year. I've gone a few different times, but last year I had 3 different people I wanted to meet. All right. I won't tell you who they all are, but one was a keynote, one was Graham Stephan, and then there was a third one who, whatever. I met all 3 and I hit it off well enough with all 3 that one of them has invested in a syndication with me. One of them let me do a YouTube video with him, and the other one, we talk all the time. So it wasn't because I showed up and was like, oh man, let me just wander around this conference aimlessly and maybe I'll meet someone. It was, no, hey, I want to meet this person specifically for these reasons. Here's how I can talk to them. Here's what we have in common, whatever. And then I made it a point to go to their conference, like go to their talk, sit dead center, participate, show interest, take notes, whatever, and then break the ice and talk to them afterwards. And I, like I said, not to say that I'm incredible, but it seemed to have worked out at every conference I've gone that I've been able to meet whoever it was I wanted to meet, stay in touch with them, build a relationship with them. And so you need to plan those things out. People go to conferences and they just wander around aimlessly, but the networks you make at conferences are the most important thing you're going to get out of that event. The people. Real estate, properties is great, but it's a people business. If you have a good relationship with people, you're going to be successful. So you need to figure out who your avatar is. So if you're trying to raise money, if you're trying to build an audience, if you're trying to have people work with you as far as like private money, you need to figure out who that person is. So for me, that person could very well be, retired enlisted service members or commissioned officers, because they have a pension, they have some money, they have some free time, like whatever. Or it could be, so I have a friend who only talks to, like, his avatar is super affluent people who have no life, like surgeons, civil engineers, whatever, like people who make good money in Hawaii. He's out in Hawaii, make good money and don't have time. So they can't They can't go and invest on their own, but they have cash to invest. And that's the only people he talks to. And he does very well. So you need to niche down to who you're looking for. Are you looking for people who are retirees and have an IRA that they don't know what to do with? Are you looking for partnerships that, and so you just need to define that for yourself and just understand that when you're talking to people so you can target who you want to target and talk to them. So what opportunities can you provide them? So then if you run into somebody at a conference and they trigger like, hey, this is somebody who matches what I'm looking for, then you explain what those opportunities are. And there's a few different ways you can do that, which we're going to dig into here in a second. And this is really the biggest one is you need to master this, right? This is the simplest thing in the world, and yet nobody does it, right? A short elevator pitch. So just keep it to 20 seconds, maybe 30, no more than 30. The shorter, the better. Who you are, what you do, and why they should care. That's it, right? So for example, and I don't have this written down, I just over time, but like, hey, my name is David Pere. I host the Military Millionaire podcast where we help service members and veterans learn how to build wealth through real estate, entrepreneurship, and personal finance. Short, sweet, who I am, what I do, why you should care. If you're one of those people, we're going to help you build wealth, right? And I change that depending on what conference I go to, where I'm at, but just have some short and sweet, like who I am, what I can do for you, and why you should care, which will do a few things for you. It'll weed out people who aren't in your avatar. So it's going to eliminate people who aren't worth, like, I hate to say it, but aren't worth your time, right? Talking to the wrong people all day doesn't get you anywhere. It's going to intrigue people who should care. And it's going to answer basic questions, right? And the beautiful thing is you then ask them about themselves, you shut up and you listen to them and you let them talk. And if they found your elevator pitch compelling, then they're going to keep talking to you. And this is, I mean, honestly, like if you can master the art of just the build rapport and an elevator pitch and then listening to people, you're going to build those relationships. It's this simple. It really is. It doesn't matter how extroverted or introverted you are. You can stand in the middle of a conference, people will come up to you, and all you have to do is look the part, be a nice guy, girl, and know what you offered people. That's it. And so you need to shift your mentality from asking for money to offering opportunities, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But that's the way you add value to people, right? With virtual networking like this, just a few ideas for you, because I know we've been stuck indoors for a long time. And although we're going to be allowed to leave our cages soon and spread our legs and see the world again, this is still things that you can do whether you're stuck inside or not. There's a lot of virtual opportunities, especially, I mean, if you think like somebody like Marcus, who I know personally is on this call, he's out in England. He's not going to be in Texas at a meetup and then in California as a meetup. But right now he's across the pond and he's able to be on this call. So you can do this through Zoom calls, through socializing on Zoom like this. You can do this through, and one of the things that I recommend you do is go to maybe Calendly or some other scheduling tool and just set up an introduction call, like a 15-minute call that anytime you're talking to people online, you can say, hey, let's schedule a time to talk, and just throw it at them. And every day at 7 a.m, I have somebody that I talk to on my drive to work, right? Just a short introduction, build a relationship call. And some of those people I never talk to again. And some of those people I do business with all the time. And so it's just a quick way to use your time wisely, find time during a commute, find time, squeeze 10, 15, 20 minutes into your lunch break. Just find some time to introduce yourself to people and jump on calls with them. You can attend virtual meetups like this, right? This is me getting out here. If you've never heard of me before and you're seeing this and you like what I'm talking about, then, hey, we'll connect, we'll build a relationship. And over time we will be doing, getting to know each other a little bit better. Right. And so there's a lot of just opportunities here. And you need to understand that, like, just because it's a virtual meetup doesn't mean that it's any less valuable, because you can create, honestly, I think they're more valuable in some ways because you get to see people all the way across the world rather than in one spot. So you get to meet new people. Social media is huge. Podcast, forums, and what I mean by podcasts and forums. So social media is just going in there and sharing. We'll get into all that in a minute. Podcasts, go be a guest. Go get on other people's podcasts and talk about your story, right? It doesn't matter if you have anything big. I was on Bigger Pockets like a year and a half ago, and I had not done much. It was like a newbie episode, right? And people still reach out to me from being on that podcast. So if you can get on a podcast where you have some value to add to that show and you get in front of people, if they like you, whether you've, crushed the world or not, they're going to come talk to you. And that's building your network. And that's evergreen. That content is always out there. People can watch that all the time. Forums, Bigger Pockets. I love Bigger Pockets, but other forums, like if you want to learn about something that's not real estate, go find a forum that talks about it and get, make posts on it all the time. And people will come to you, they'll find you, and they'll get it. Now, for all of this, you need to ensure you have a few different things. You need to have a bio, contact info, and a call to action. So what does this look like? A really short, like elevator pitch level introduction to yourself on like your signature block of the forum or podcast or whatever. And then where people can get a hold of you and a call to action. So like, hey, if you want to learn more about this, come join our Facebook group or shoot me an email or whatever. Just a simple way for people to recognize. Like if you were to see that I posted on Bigger Pockets right now, you would see a link to my website and you would be able to understand how to get a hold of me, right? It would not be complicated. Okay. All right. Non-verbal networking. So this is, if you haven't read the book Like Switch and you want to get good at networking, you need to go read this book. I would tell you the author, but it's sitting in my bedroom because I'm reading the physical copy again. But if you read Never Split the Difference, which is an FBI agent talking about negotiating, it's an incredible book. Like Switch is a book by a FBI officer talking about how to build relationships through nonverbal cues. This guy literally talked a Russian spy into deciding to spy on Russia for the US. And he did it in like the course of 30 days and didn't talk to the guy for the first 29 days. Like he literally would just like stand on the sidewalk. And then as time went by, he'd be walking the same direction as the guy. And then as time went by, he would like sit next to him in a coffee shop, like just random things to get slowly closer to him. And so what he breaks down is that the friendship formula is frequency plus proximity plus duration and intensity. So the idea that the closer you are to someone, the more you bump into them, the more time you spend with them, and then intensity being how intense your interaction is, how intimate, how familiar, how whatever, that is going to build a relationship. So he was able to do this without even talking to the guy. In fact, the guy approached him first. It's just really cool. So he goes through a lot of different things. So for example, body language, you might not know this, but when someone does like a nice warm smile and they do the eyebrow flash or whatever, and they tilt their head, it honestly, as weird as it's going to seem now, but like if you ever thought you walk by someone and you just give them like the head nod and the eyebrow flash or whatever, like that's a sign of friendship. And tilting of the head is actually perceived totally, like you would never know this, but it's perceived as a sign of friendship because it literally what he says is you're showing off your carotid artery. So it's like a sign of like, hey, look, I trust you. So yeah, Shelby's over here like breaking her neck in the camera. But
dude,
so
I'm
like,
practicing. We're
there you
practicing over
go.
here, okay?
I love it. I love it. But like this is great, right? Because these are things that I never knew. And now I know like, hey, when I run into someone, I can just kind of, whatever. And it seems awkward to you to do the smile, raise like whatever. But you're going to, as you get better at this, people are just going to like you more and they're not going to know why. And it's not that anyone's going to be like, dude, why'd you, I mean, if you walk around like this, maybe, but if you just, like just settle, no one's going to notice. He talks about this urban scowl, which is essentially resting bitch face. And like how people from a city who are like, say, New York, who just aren't super friendly are going to be naturally less likable per se than someone who's from like the Midwest and always smiling and happy and friendly. And so he talks about like looking in the mirror and focusing on how to change your urban scowl to be a naturally more warming face, right? And he literally breaks down like how to do that, what it looks like, and whatever. And then he really gives some interesting feedback. Like if you're presenting to someone, focus on your enemies, right? So if you're talking to a group of 20 people and you can tell there's like 2 people who hate your guts, focus on those ones throughout the presentation. Give them attention, give them feedback, give them friend signals, give them whatever, because they're the other people you've already won over. And so a lot of people will naturally, they'll give a presentation, they'll ignore the people who are being, don't care, and they'll talk to everyone else. But that's not the way that you win over a crowd. The way you win over a crowd is by giving attention to the people that don't already like you per se. Some interesting things he talks about that will help you at a conference. If you're trying to walk up on like a group of people, look at their feet. If their feet are catty corner and pointed all over the place, they're open to seeing and talking to new people. If it's like 3 people and their feet are all pointing dead center and they're all like closely looking into each other, we've probably all been in a situation where we're in a really intense conversation and someone comes in and jumps in the middle of the conversation and kind of interrupts everything. And you're like, it's not off to a good start. Well, what you're doing subconsciously is your feet are all pointing inward. But if you're just in a like lazy conversation to talk to people, your feet are going to be skewed all over the place and you won't know it. But other people can look at your feet and know, should I approach this group or should I wait a little while? Which will, I mean, you might put your foot in your mouth right off the bat if you walk up to a group of people who's just really into deep conversation and you interrupt it, even if you have good intentions. So learning to read some of those things, but learn to read nonverbal cues. If you can learn open versus closed posture, torso orientation, placing bag. Like if someone has a bag on their lap, they're wanting to leave, right? If they put the bag, if a woman picks her purse up and puts it on her lap, she's trying to leave. Like things like this, right? If you can learn these things, like you pick that up and maybe you're like, oh yeah, oh, hey, I can tell I'm wasting your time. Have a great day. You're going to be better at this. People are going to like you more. It's going to build relationships more. And it's going to really help you be more observant. So the more you can understand these things, like if someone turns their torso away from you, they're trying to leave the conversation. If someone is, all of a sudden they're scowling and arms crossed and whatever, they're probably not super open to you. So different things like this it's just a really cool book because it'll help you through this, and it has pictures, which as a Marine is great. But I recommend that you read this book if you want to get good at networking, because you can make a lot of progress just by having decent, hand-eye, whatever. All right. So content marketing, we're going to run through this fairly quick and then we're going to talk. Biggest thing you can do, and we're going to talk through all these different platforms, is understand you shouldn't be selling all the time. You should be giving away content. Gary Vaynerchuk he has a book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, and he talks about this. It's basically like, if you look at a company that just sells all the time, they piss people off. People don't want to follow them because everything is just a salesy email or salesy this or salesy that. Just show that you're a real person. Show that you're a real brand. Show that you're really involved, and show that you want to be there, and give away free content. People will come to you. All right. If you want to start a blog, which I recommend, because I view this as my content hub. Everything I do points back to my blog. My blog is not my biggest platform. My blog does not get the most viewers in a month, but my blog hosts everything. So if my podcast is on my blog, and my YouTube channel points to my blog, and my blog attaches to this, and my blog does that, you can build this out to where I have an investor tab. People find me through there. I have tabs for referrals. I have tabs for anything I have an affiliate for. I have a shop, whatever it is. People land on my blog, whatever they're looking for that I might be able to help them is housed there. So they can find, if once they get there, they will find what they're looking for, and they'll come, they'll get a hold of me via whatever way that is. Whereas on YouTube, as great as it is, I can't build a tab on YouTube that's like, hey, click this and come invest with me. So I would recommend that even if you don't plan on doing all kinds of crazy content stuff, you have some kind of a website. They're super simple, super, super cheap. That just is a place where people can come to you to learn more about you. It'll make you look more professional. I mean, today's day and age, not having a website is kind of like shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to raise money or you're trying to do deals or you're trying to do whatever. The first thing people are going to do is try to find you. And if they can't find you anywhere, it's kind of a credibility thing. So if you're going to blog, focus on writing stuff that's over 1,000 words. Focus on search engine optimization, which I'm not going to really dig tons into, but making sure that what you're talking about, you mention a bunch throughout the article so that Google understands that's what you're talking about. Over time, Google will rank your article. For example, right now, if you typed in military side hustles on Google, I would be the first page that popped up. And I know that just this week, I think it was like 157 people found my website through that article. So it grows over time, and it gets to a point where if someone types something in and you pop up, then forever, as long as you're there, people will come to you. I have videos on YouTube that still get 50 to 100 views every day that I posted over a year ago, and people still comment on it. People still come to me. And so getting out there and understanding how to rank in these search engines will allow people to find you over time. There's no way that I could go and network with 50 people right now every day, not sustainably, but I can get out there with information that people like, and they can find me through that. So that's kind of what this is. And then when you're writing, I am not the best author. In fact, I freaking failed English class in high school. Like, it's kind of funny that I can do this now. Thank God for Grammarly, which fixes all my errors. But just write like you would read. If you are thinking about looking at a product and you're like, oh man, I wish somebody had a chart that showed pros and cons, or a chart that showed this one versus this one, then write that way. Make it so that when people look at your content, they're like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. Instead of just writing a long paragraph. Right. So blogging is great because it's evergreen. Everything you put on there is out there forever, which is hopefully a good thing. Sometimes you don't want stuff out there forever, but it is what it is. Okay. So podcasting, this is one of my favorite things. This is the the bee's knees of you can do anything from a 5-minute interview to Joe Rogan, like 3 hours where you're smoking a joint, drinking beer and doing whatever, like whatever your desire is as a podcaster, the floor is open. There's very little restrictions and you can do basically anything you want on it. It's evergreen. So it's always out there. Think about like Bigger Pockets. Whoever the first interview was on Bigger Pockets has been downloaded like a bajillion times, because anytime someone finds Bigger Pockets podcast and they want to go listen to all their podcasts, what do? They go back to one. And so on most podcasts, the number one downloaded show is that first, second, third, because that's people go back and they start over. So it's evergreen. People will find that stuff, which is why when I mentioned the podcast thing earlier, if you have a friend starting a show, absolutely volunteer to be their number one, right? Because if you're the first or second show on that, you're going to get those views. Now, granted, there's a huge chance that they'll quit. Most podcasts don't make it past 20 or 30 shows. But if they make it, for not to say that my first episode is downloaded a bajillion times, but I'm cresting, I need to record episode 99 and 100 next week. And so I didn't quit. I'm not the biggest thing in the world, but that first episode still gets a few views every week, right? And it's still going up. And so whoever that first one was or is, if you can be the first few on a podcast, that's going to be good for you. But as far as hosting a podcast, you can do interviews, you can do solo stories, you can do teaching, you can do whatever you want with this. Just make sure that if you're going to do like interviews and stuff, the key to growing a podcast is to get your guests to share. So like if I have Shelby on my podcast and then I'm like, hey, thanks, high five. Well, that's great. My audience will see it. But if I have Shelby on my podcast, I'm like, hey, thanks, high five. Here's an email with the podcast link, the YouTube link, the audiogram you can download. You click this button, it'll automatically tweet for you. You click this button, it'll automatically send a Facebook message. Here's a script for an email, which I still haven't mastered that piece because I can't find anything that sounds good. But like, here's a script for an email you could send your readers. Here's whatever. You look like a rock star. She's going to share that. And now her audience is going to see it. My audience is going to see it. The show is going to get way more views. It's good for both of us. Some of those people who listen to it will probably start listening to my show. So the key with podcasting is getting other people to share it. And you can customize everything. You can outsource everything. I did everything the hard way with this. I now partnered with my editor and we help people launch stuff, whatever. I'd be happy to talk with that, but no reason to get into that. I would, if I was to go back and start another one, like when I'm going to start a new podcast when I go back to out of the military, like a local one, like a very hyper local, just business owners in town. And I won't ever do anything but talk on the microphone. You can outsource everything but talking into the mic. So it's really not a huge time suck, but you can also do everything yourself and do it very cheaply. So it's not hard to start a podcast. I think it's a great idea. They're growing very quickly. And you can promote your own deals. Like I can put an advertisement on my microphone about a deal I'm in or a sponsorship or a whatever. And you can fit your own stuff into that. So it's just a very cool platform to have. All right. YouTube, one of my favorites. And the reason is it's the second largest search engine in the world, right? It's owned by Google, evergreen. People can find you all over the place. Have you ever noticed you type something into Google and a video might pop up? If it's the right search engine phrase, and enough people search for it and you've got a video that ranks on Google, then Google will help you by pushing people to your YouTube video. So there's a lot of cool stuff with this. It's evergreen. You can do talking heads. You can do tutorials. You can do reaction. You can do cat videos, whatever it is. You won't get rich off YouTube right away. It's not easy. You can make money. I think this month will be the first time that my podcast will be net green because it's been, as I grow, I pay my editor more. And so I think this month will be the first time I've ever actually gotten to save some money from YouTube. Also, I didn't buy a camera this month. I bought it last month and I'm not factoring that in. So, but over time it grows, right? And it'll reach more people organically. More people will come to view your stuff and it'll just be able to stay there forever. So if you put good videos out, they will take off and people will come find you, which is the key to all this. So your title, your thumbnail, all this stuff's important, SEO descriptions, but in your description, if you do this on YouTube, you can put in there, this is where all the magic happens. In all these different platforms, you put where people can find you. So on my YouTube, I have a blip now that says, hey, if you want to invest with me, go to this page. And I get emails 2, 3, 4 times a week of someone filling out my investor tab and looking to invest money with me. And then I jump on a call with them. We talk, we figure if it's a good fit. And I can then either take their money as other people's money to go be a partner. I can take it as a, hey, I'll give you this percent interest as a debt partner or as an equity partner. You can invest in a syndication with me. Like, there's opportunities, right? I'm not saying that to say that I'm incredible, but I'm saying that to show you, like, legitimately, I have made more money in real estate because of my face being out there on YouTube or my voice being out there on podcasting than I have ever made through real estate by physically buying the duplex. The duplex has been incredible, but the relationships that have allowed me to buy more duplexes or bigger deals, that's really what's been the game changer for me over the last year. So, and the crazy thing is that scales. It's only going to keep growing. So social media is not truly evergreen, but it definitely will help you. It's not a searchable, so it's more like fly by cusp as far as you post something and then it'll be gone in your story feed or whatever. But just, there's a lot that goes into this, but the long and short of it is, understand that if you want to be successful on social media, you need to be social. Share other people's stuff. Share stuff. I mean, everybody on this call, as far as the Pints and Properties team, tagged me in something on Instagram today about the call, and I shared all of it. And so when you do that, you're cross-pollinating off audiences, you're cross-pollinating with each other. So if you see something you like, share it, tag the person, they'll probably share it back, and you can grow your audience this way by being social with people. Yeah, you can pay for advertising. I've maybe done that a handful of times, but it's not really been my thing. There's a lot of ways that you can build your audience without paying for ads. Social media all has different personalities. So figure out what fits you best and roll with it. For Facebook, it's best for building a community, a brand, a Q&A platform. Instagram, which is my biggest and probably my favorite, is just daily life. It's just present tense. It's just sharing what you're thinking about. It's talking about stuff. It's posting information. LinkedIn is more professional. It's for business, for networking in that end of the world. Twitter, you look at the trending page for what's trending on Twitter, and you can post in that stuff, hashtags that stuff, and you can get into the trending feed and more people will find you. It's great for interacting with brands. Pinterest is great if you have females who like your content, because it's a huge female-based audience. It's probably why I suck at Twitter, because none of my content looks feminine at all, and it's my ugly mug, so whatever. But I've never been great at Pinterest. But if you want to or have a female-heavy audience, Pinterest is a great way to get in front of them. It's phenomenal. I'm just not great at it. TikTok, yeah, I threw it on here. Whether you guys like it or not, it's probably the fastest growing platform out there right now. It's not going to hurt you to get on it. It's young, sure, but they get older. There are older people on it. It's not just youngsters. Be humorous, do cliffhanger stories, focus on just building a brand there. And then from TikTok, as you build a brand, you push it elsewhere. It's not necessarily the best platform for building a brand that you can then, monetize on TikTok, but you can build a brand that you can say, hey, go follow me on YouTube, and then grow your YouTube, or hey, go follow me on Instagram, and then whatever. As the platform grows, it can't hurt you. Snapchat, not a huge fan. I just put not my thing. I've not seen anything on Snapchat work, and I've not seen anything on Snapchat that can't get you in trouble. So I would just stay away from it. It's not going to help you build a business that you want to build. As far as monetization, and you can dig into all this, we can talk more if you want more information on this, but you can make money through your platforms as you build this stuff. You can, through your blog, you can do Google ads and affiliates and courses and coaching and recommending other people's stuff and consulting calls and investor portal. I have a little bit of this stuff. I don't have advertisements on my website. I think that's really tacky. I did build a cheap course or whatever, but the investor portal is the one that we're talking about right now. Like, have an investor portal on whatever website that people can come to you and they can fill out like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is a little bit of information with me. So when you jump on a call, you're prepared. If you're talking to an accredited investor, a sophisticated investor, somebody who has no idea what they're doing, which is fine, but that way you can tailor your call to them, and you can keep a log of who you've connected with. So as you grow into doing syndications and stuff, you can prove that you've got a relationship with this person. You've talked on the phone a few times. The SEC will actually allow them to invest with you. As far as podcasts, you can, same thing. All of these, you can basically do advertisements. You can sell products. You can do affiliates, or you can do sponsors, or there's a lot of different options here. You can make money through this stuff, but as cool as it is, relationships and investors are the greatest monetization. The best thing you can do is use these platforms to build relationships with people that will work with you and help you and become an investor, right? If you can find people who will partner with you long-term, like Shelby and I have never done a deal together, but Shelby and I and her whole team have now known each other for like a year and a half, 2 years. through Instagram, as you heard her say. And we've hung out together at 10X Growth Conference. We've hung out together at FinCon. We've hung out together at, I think, BPCon. We've gotten drunk in hotels. We've whatever, but we sent each other business. I've sent business to Shelby. Shelby has referred people to me that as far as content, like all the time. And I can tell you a ton of different relationships that I can name that I met through Instagram or through whatever, just through dabbling in this stuff. I would just throw this out real quick. Pitfalls, just be transparent. If you're starting out, you don't know what you're doing, that's fine. Just open, like say that. Say, look, hey, I'm just documenting what I'm doing. People will appreciate that because that's how I started. I promise it works. Don't do the fake it till you make it. Don't pretend you're an expert in everything ever. Be okay. Like, don't get me wrong. You might be an expert to someone because you're smarter or more knowledgeable about something. So don't downgrade yourself, but don't walk around saying you know everything about everything all the time. It's okay to come at it from like, hey, look, I'm just doing this because I want to learn more. A friend of mine, it has the 2 highest ranking Airbnb podcasts on iTunes, both of them, number 1 and 2. And both of them were started as, I'm Nick the new guy. The first one was, I'm Nick the new guy and I want to interview successful Airbnb people. And the second one was like, hey, I partnered with someone and we're going to interview successful Airbnb people. But on both, he was not framed as the expert. He was framed as the new guy trying to learn how to do Airbnb. And it's blown up. So it doesn't matter if you come at it from that way. Just be transparent about who you are and be authentic. And then focus on the relationships, not the sales, right? It's the spamming your content all over the place, buy my stuff, sell my stuff. People don't like that. You might get some sales, but no, like the best way to do it is to just be authentic. Focus on what's in it for the person you're talking to. Don't focus on what's in it for you. Don't have your best interest at heart with all this stuff. Have the reader's best interest or the listeners. Some of my best content has been, I get asked a question a bunch and I'm like, well, crap, I need to do something about that. And then I make some content about it. And every time someone asks me, I'm like, hey, here's a video. And it saves me time. It saves them time. It's better formatted. And then it ranks in Google or whatever, and people will come to me. Don't speak in absolutes. If you're investing, don't say things like multifamily is always a better return than single family. Say maybe the multifamily is generally a bigger return than, but don't speak in absolutes in print, because if you're dealing with investors' money, you don't want to be saying this is the only way, right? People see through that. If you're like, oh, fearmonger, no, stock market's terrible, you have to do real estate. You can do both. There are reasons I prefer real estate for sure, but don't tell someone they can't invest in the stock market because they're going to believe you. And then if you do lose money, like, just be honest with people. Don't buy engagement and followers. That stuff doesn't work. People do this. I've called some friends out on this. I've actually lost some friends online because I've told them like, dude, you're being an idiot. Because if you go and buy 1,000 followers on YouTube, that's great. You now have 1,000 followers on YouTube, but YouTube is going to see that not a single one of your followers has ever viewed or liked one of your videos. And it's going to think that your content's terrible and it's going to tank it. Like, you're never going to get YouTube to rank your stuff online, right? Because none of your followers engage in your stuff. So your stuff has to be terrible. So don't pay the money to buy all that stuff to look cool. You can go buy 100,000 followers on Instagram and look legit, but your engagement will be crap and everybody will know. And then don't be a peacock. I know this sounds ridiculous, but don't be the person who walks around strutting their stuff, telling everyone how good you are. There are people who do this and it drives me bonkers. Like, talking about how much money they raised for this, or how much money they're donating to this, or how much they did this, or how much they did that. Unless someone specifically asks me, I don't care about how many units I own. I don't care about, like, all that stuff's arbitrary. What matters is cash flow. And what matters is how happy I am with life. Right. So don't be that person who runs around telling everyone how incredible you are. If people want to know what you've done, they'll ask, but just be knowledgeable and be helpful. I would say my challenges for you, if you want to start all this stuff out, niche down, define your target avatar, and then be willing to and ready to build some content around that to draw that person in, right? Get familiar with how to target those people and get to networking, right? Create and master your elevator pitch. You need to do that whether you're going to do anything with content or not. Anytime you do any networking, understand your avatar and understand your elevator pitch to get in front of them. I like the idea of creating a hashtag so people can follow you all over social media. Like right now, if you typed in military millionaire, you would see a bunch of content from me and it would be growing. And other people can tag that and then I'll see it. So get over 500 connections on LinkedIn. If you have less than 500, it says the specific number of people that you have on LinkedIn. But if you have 501, it just says 500 plus. So everybody will think, they won't know if you have 501 or 50,000 followers on LinkedIn. So your profile will look legit. And the easiest way to do this, just go in and click connect a bunch. Just And as you grow, people will come friend you on LinkedIn. But if you get over that 500 people on LinkedIn, it will make your profile look more professional, more, followed, and people, that's proof of concept, right? It's credibility. People will like it. On Instagram, on Facebook, on all these different platforms, go and engage with 5 or 10 posts a day. Just go comment on stuff and share things you like and tag them, and it'll come back. Your platform will grow organically, whether you're putting out content or not, just by sharing other people's stuff, tagging them in it, and they're going to reciprocate. Maybe not always, but like if you look at Brandon Turner's Instagram feed, every day he is sharing somebody's story where they tagged him in something every day. And every time he does it, I guarantee those people go up a few to. I had Brandon share a post once, and I jumped over 300 followers that day. So depending on what it is that they share and who it is, Grant Cardone tagged me in something once, and I mean my Instagram was just like follow, 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 and I was like, holy crap. So not to say that everybody's going to do that, but if you just get out there and share good content, if that person happens to like it enough, they share it back, it's how you grow your sphere. So get out there, engage with other people's posts and not like good posts, but like thoughtful comments and, whatever. If you go to that hashtag and you don't search it by popular, you search it by recent, then you'll see stuff that just popped up and you can go in and comment on it, and they're still going to be on the platform. So they're going to engage back with you. And then just share content, enjoy, and give credit where credit's due. Go all in with whatever platform feels the best to you. Play the long game. You're not going to get rich fast by doing any of this. You're not going to blow up fast, but it's a good way for you to get out there and have people come to you. So learning how to network with people in person, online, or put out content that people come to you, it's just a game changer. So anyway, I thought about putting a whole bunch of cool contact info on here, like all this fancy stuff that people care about. But the reality is, if I'm talking about content and you can't find me, I'm doing something wrong. So if you type my name into Google, you'll find me. You can use my hashtag, you can follow me on Instagram, whatever. But I'm always out to talk to people. So yeah. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see people again. And I know that there were chats going in there, and I hope they're not like, you're talking too long, please shut up. So
they're
I
all
couldn't
just
see
making
any.
fun of you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And they're all from us.
They're all from us, yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Hey, dude, that was freaking awesome. I love that. And Mike's gonna jump in a second, like recap everything for the group. But our question, we've had like one legitimate question that the rest is like, cool hair, Dan. That was Dan Kidd, not Dave. We didn't script your name. But anyway, the question was, outside of Bigger Pockets, are there any other forums that you like for real estate investing or for military? Any other forum?
The only other decent sized one that I know for real estate investing is literally called realestateinvesting.com. It's decent. It's actually the guy. It's kind of a weird story. I've written a couple articles for the guy. He like bought the domain name, started going all in, and then he had something else come up and like just put it aside for years. And then when he came back, he had no market share left because Bigger Pockets had stolen it all. But it's a pretty good website, pretty good blog. There's some forums and there's some stuff for you to interact with authors. So realestateinvesting.com. The guy who runs it's pretty cool. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's opinion. It's so damn big. You could network on it all day and never run into everyone. So you can go into, and what you can do in there is you can niche down to a specific subsect of the forum. Like I'm huge in the military investor section. And so I'm in there all the time. And anytime someone posts a new post, I'll go in there and I'll target that specifically set of forums and try to comment on everything. You could do that with whatever your investing niche is. And then you don't have to worry about the like millions of people on BP. You just talk to that like 5 or 10,000. Personal finance forum. I mean, FinCon might have been. I don't really know if FinCon's going to exist anymore. I mean, it will, but they've had some struggles lately. They're restructuring some of their leadership, and it's kind of a weird ordeal. But there's a couple different websites out there. But as far as forums go, I guess it's kind of a weird spot because forums are slowly starting to go the way of the dodo. It seems it's easier to find forums for things like, I don't know, cars. Like if you're a Jeep guy or if you're a I should. I've honestly replaced the word forum a lot of times with Facebook group. You can go into a good Facebook group and do the exact same thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I think There were in the comments on Facebook, they were mostly people just excited to see you, so no actual questions. So
I should go see my group and see if anyone commented on that one.
that's true, probably. But okay, I think Mike, do you have some notes, some recaps for us?
Yes, as usual, I've taken some very diligent notes, and our Wi-Fi over here is lagging out, guys. So if I start skipping, don't worry about it. But first and foremost, everybody needs to go and follow Military to Millionaire. They need to go follow Dave, Hip Hip Pere, on all of his social media sites, podcasts, YouTube, you guys name it, right? Now, why are we listening to him? Because he said he was the best man at Brandon Turner's wedding. I'm lying. He didn't say that, but yeah, he didn't say all that. But I mean, he's done a lot of networking. And so just recapping over some of the stuff he said, he didn't start off with capital, as many of us did not. It was really his networking and his content that helped him grow to where he's at today. And instead of taking any money or just any type of money, now he can kind of choose and be a little bit more selective just because of the brand that he's built, right? So build rapport. Obviously, want to mirror people, common ground. There's some great books out there. Never Split the Difference, The Like Switch, which I'm actually about to download after this. And he said, don't touch people. Just don't touch people. That's probably not going to be a good thing for you guys. All right. He touched on to active listening. So quality listening versus just, letting it go in one ear and out the other. Guys, this is huge. When you go to conferences, have a plan. That's where we met this guy. That's where we met Dave, right? Is from having a plan and understanding that you guys can still virtual network and then work on your resting bitch face. Yeah, I said it. All right. Let's see what else we got. The Jab Jab Right Hook by Gary Vee. I'm going to download that one too. Great stuff. A lot of free content, and then you guys hook them. Guys, blogs, podcasts, YouTube, social media, investor portal. It's all there. Key takeaways for me was being consistent and being transparent, right? Don't sit there and act big and bad. We're all starting in the same spot. So again, be sure to like and follow them. And then the biggest key, some people do this. If you guys really want to, like Dave said, when Grant Cardone tagged him in something and Brandon Turner tagged him in something, all of a sudden his followers went up. So just put on a bikini and tag Bigger Pockets.
He made a joke.
It's funny you say that, but who was it? There was someone. Was it you? It was you. That post blew up on that post blew up on their social media.
I didn't mean for that to happen, but I did. I had just fun story. I had the Bigger Pockets tax savvy real estate investor. I was at the beach and I in my bathing suit posted. Bigger Pockets took that picture and posted it on their own page, and exactly what he said. It was I was like, why are all these people following me? 1,000 followers overnight. And I was like, all right, whatever. Anyway.
That's it. She had so many sugar daddy DMs after that.
Actually, dude, I think that's what
I was going to say, that's probably the post that I first saw and was like, who is this?
Whatever. So
I was creeping. That's what it was.
I'm putting on a bathing suit this weekend and I'm hashtagging everybody.
Perfect.
Silkies or bust.
Dude, freaking loved having you here. And we'll see you at Bigger Pockets conference this year, right?
I think so. We shall see if my unit approves leave or if I'm allowed to go outside my 30-mile radius by then. But that's the hope. Radius.
I hope to see you there because it was so fun last year hanging out with you at all the conferences. Love it. And yeah, like Mike said, if you don't know him, you should. And that's all we got. So I think that's it. Are we ready? Do we say bye?
Are we doing it?
Is that what we do? Okay. Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Bye,
Thanks again,
Dave.
man.
Awkward.
Yeah, the worst. I know, always. Sorry. Bye.